Welcome. This is Jordan with Foodbevy, the online community for food and beverage founders. Today I'm talking with Alak, co-founder of Elements Truffles, and let's jump right into it. I'd love for you to start off telling me about your product, your brand, and how you got started.
Sure. Hi, my name is Alak, and I'm the co-founder at Elements Truffles. And at Elements Truffles, we make raw and organic artisanal chocolates. They're inspired by this ancient science of Ayurveda. It's the sister science to yoga. And the primary focus or the principles of Ayurveda are simplicity and balance in lifestyle. And the way we got around starting this was I would say, in 2005 is when I learned how to meditate. And as I started growing in my meditation practice, a lot of my food habits started changing. And I noticed I was bringing back a lot of elements of the Ayurvedic lifestyle that was already part of my life growing up, but I never appreciated it because I grew up in India. And now I was suddenly valuing the science, and I was like, wow, there's so much to this, and I would love for me to share this with other people. And at that time, I was working on Wall Street. I was a trader. Life was good, but I don't know, there was a hole in the soul, right? Something was missing. And I think the meditation practice also kind of amplified this inner voice of mine, which led me to say, okay, I'm going to take the leap of faith and start this startup. So that's how Elements Truffles was born, at the intersection of two things that I really love, which is meditation and chocolate.
The journey has been really easy.
Yeah, super easy.
So tell me about some of the challenges that you've had to overcome along the way.
Wow, so many, right? And I feel like that's one thing I've learned is entrepreneurship is all about problem solving and your willingness to change your plan and not be stuck to it. But one of the biggest challenges that I first found was with myself, right? Having that confidence that, is this really a product that will work? I had taken this leap of faith and made this decision, but was this a right decision? Did I really know what I was doing? And I think that took the first year, just product validation and making sure that people really liked what we were showing them. And once that was done, the second challenge was, I just went with my gut feeling, right? That, okay, I'm going to do this, and never studied the chocolate market as much. And you realize there's like walls of chocolate, right? Now, how do you differentiate yourself, or how do you make yourself picked up by someone else when they're going shopping? So that was one of the first challenges we ran into, which led us to coming up with our packaging, which was unique, which was different, which would catch a person's attention to kind of at least try the product, which would talk about the product without them having to taste it. And once we got past that challenge, I think, and this is an ongoing challenge, is distribution of your product, right? How do you get your product into different stores? And then how do you support the movement of your product in that stores, especially in areas where, at least in New York, New Jersey area where we're from, we did a lot of shows, right? Like markets and shows. So people have had a chance to taste our product here or there, but there's some states where people have no idea. And if you get on the store shelves, yeah, they might pick you up because of your packaging, but that whole process is so long. And by that time, the store kind of loses confidence in your product. So I think, one thing I feel is missing big time is like solving for the distribution of small businesses. Like, how do we do it more efficiently and effectively?
Yeah, you're right, because there's of course, the large national grocers around the country, but then there's a much larger network of smaller independent stores. And, there's this kind of small gap in the middle of how to, or a large gap in the middle, like how to really reach those different groups. So what are your kind of biggest opportunities that you found, and where have you been most successful?
I think the opportunity where we found is actually Ayurveda, the area that we're focusing on. When we first started, people barely knew about this word, or not many people were familiar. But I feel in the last 2 years, there has been a lot more focus on wellness. There has been a lot more focus on the ingredients in your chocolate, or how do I integrate superfoods or Ayurvedic herbs in my day-to-day lifestyle. And I think that has really put us in a good position because, we are chocolates free from dairy, sweetened just with raw honey. There's no soy, no GMO, no gluten, none of those things. And I think that is something people are looking for, and they're not finding many products like that are so clean and yet taste so good. So I think that has been definitely one of the big wins for us in that sense.
That's great. In coming into 2020, I know from my business, it looked like it was going to be a great year, and then COVID really took effect. So talk about some of the challenges that you experienced when COVID hit and how that's affected your business.
So I think the minute COVID hit, right, the uncertainty around it, like, okay, how long is this going to last? How is it going to impact business? What do we do with our staff? How do we run this business? So I would say my biggest fear was, will we have enough work to keep our employees? That was the first fear, because for me, our employees are like family, and the thought of having to let them go would be like the toughest decision of our life, right? So that was the first thing. And second of all, most of our business is like, small independent stores, and a lot of them kind of were shut down during this time. So how do we now scale up our business? Where do we put our attention on? These were the first two challenges we hit. And the way we got around those were, one, we immediately pivoted to putting our focus on online sales. And that paid off really, really well because, one, we had a really good community that we had built around our, online platform. And they were all willing to support us and, giving gifts and buying things. So I felt like there was a lot of support there. And then we were able to invest a little more and grow that. And then the second area that we started looking at was people were doing a lot more things at home, right? They were looking at recipes. They were looking at how to use your products in their day-to-day recipes. So we started putting out a lot of recipes out there, doing a lot of lives, putting my face out there, which is something I've always been so hesitant about. Like, I like to hide behind the kitchen, right? And not show my face. But here I was now talking to people, sharing my recipes. And then the third thing we're still working on is kind of creating pantry essentials. So we're working on a new product line, like a protein powder or a cinnamon sugar or just cacao powder, just things that people can now use in their home to make delicious things and get quality ingredients.
That's amazing. A great way of, working through the problems that we're all experiencing right now and finding new ways to, provide more value to your customers. And looking at how your business is going to evolve over the next year, how are you expecting things to go, or how have you had to change your strategy in terms of how you're growing?
Yeah, so I feel, before we felt like, okay, this is probably going to last for a month or two, but now the way it's going, it might be end of 2020 or even beyond, right? And also, even if the fear is like, even if the virus is gone, I think the fear is going to stay much longer, which means that's going to change the purchasing behavior, of our customers. So I think we really need to adapt. Like, the food industry is really going to shift in terms of like how buyers are going to interact with you, right? So I feel the ability to position yourself online and supporting things like how I was saying, that support them to create things at home, but make it easy for them to do that. I think those are kind of a few areas where I feel we just need to continue focusing on and building our business around it. Like, initially, our major part of the business was wholesale. And now I think we need, of course, wholesale will keep slowly ramping up, hopefully, as things open up. But our big focus is going to be on these new product lines and the online strategy.
So you've learned a lot over the course of your journey. If you were to give one piece of advice to a aspiring founder, what would you tell them?
I would say go for it and be ready to hustle. Be patient, be like consistent, and it will happen. I think if you have an idea and you believe in it and you're willing to give your 100%, anything is possible.
Alak, I love that advice. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I appreciate our conversation.